Towards the end of 2013, continuing into 2014, many San Diegan citizens approached their elected representatives and the police department, complaining that they had been frequently stopped, asked about their parole or probation status, and following many of those stops, perhaps too many of those stops, they left unticketed. To those people, it was an indication that they had been racially profiled. So the police department, meaning the chief and the deputy chief, attended a meeting in or around February of 2014 where the complaints were made formal, and there were a number of citizens who spoke at that meeting. The charge then that was given to the PD was to come back in 3 months and again in 1 year to answer whether or not people had been stopped and asked these questions and left without being ticketed. On 2 occasions then the department came in without answers to either question. I will attempt to provide answers with this demonstration. Following the report that was presented on February 25th, I obtained the vehicle stop records from the city's police department, and there were 144,164 records. So we agree with respect to the gross number of records. Each vehicle stop record is supported by 1 or more vehicle stop detail records. In this case, this particular stop has 4 detail records that describe what happened after the person was stopped. These records allow us to prepare summaries, counts, percentages, etc. I need to remark on one data element item that is missing, and were it present, San Diego could use its vehicle stop data to train its officers who may be involved in constitutionally infirm practices. That is, the vehicle stop record should be completed by having the officer ID. These records have the usual defects, errors that I've spoken about before. I will not speak about the usual defects today, but I want to mention the situation as regards card counts. Towards the end of the last quarter of 2014, there was a significant fall off in the number of card records that were being captured in the system. The PD was advised of this as early as mid-November, but never provided any meaningful response to it. As you can see from these graphs, the fall off continued unabated until the end of the year. To verify that what I saw in the graphical presentation was correct, I sought and obtained the actual citations from San Diego's citation database, which is separate and distinct, and did a comparison. The net effect is that there are 14,905 citation records in the citation database that are not present in the vehicle stop database. This is a question that must be answered in order to give us and anyone else a sense of exactly what the defects are and what those defects mean. Let us say again, there was a significant fall off in San Diego's compliance rates towards the end of last year. It is not known if those compliance rates have been cured or the low compliance rates have been raised. I just thought that it would be important that you be aware of this and that you not leave this without your questions. These summaries are presented in a dashboard. A dashboard in this case is nothing more than a series of charts and gauges that show each stop action as a separate and distinct chart. Within each chart we have a representation of each ethnic group and what that ethnic group's experience has been with respect to a particular action. Here we have the citations, searches, and we can go on. You can see for yourself what these things are. The basic question then is, were people stopped and interviewed for no good reason? And we can look at how often people of the different ethnicities have been stopped. We look at field interviews. The graph tells us a story, but the gauge tells us more. What this gauge tells us is that blacks are stopped more than 5 times as often as whites. Well, I should not have said stopped. Blacks are stopped for the purpose, or the stops resulted in a field interview 5 times as often as whites. Hispanics are field interviewed 1.82 times as often as whites. The other part of the question was, how often do these stops result in citations? Well, let us see. Blacks are given citations 22% less than whites. Hispanics are given citations just about the same rate as whites. So the citation rate between Hispanics and whites are insignificant, whereas the citation rate for blacks as compared to whites, there's substantial difference. The prior 2 demonstrations, graphic demonstrations, answer the questions that was put or that were put to the SDPD by the Neighborhoods Committee, but this final demonstration, I think, seals the argument. The basic measurement for vehicle stops is, what is the resulting hit rate? Well, the hit rate for blacks and Hispanics, as you can see without looking at the gauge, is that the hit rates for both of these groups are substantially lower than the hit rates for others. In the case of blacks, the hit rate is 38% lower than it is for whites, and the hit rate for Hispanics lower yet, somewhere around 39% lower than the hit rate for whites. Now it seems to me that this data that was within the grasp, meaning the grasp and control of the San Diego Police Department, could have and should have been presented to the Neighborhoods Committee and the City Council and the public at large. And that is all.